Hi everybody, I'm Tara and I'm also recovering from the flu. This is like the only thing I wanted to do today that I was filling up for. I wanted to go over what I ended up reading from my TBR, or my to be read list in January. I know we're in February, so it might as well be like, whatever, forget January, it's in the past. But I want to share like some brief thoughts about some of these books. I've talked about some of them a lot, but actually I'm planning to do a review of one of them this week in my new like little book log thing that I mentioned in an earlier video. Let's get into it. I read, well, my TBR list was 4 books. I read 3 of them, but I did get into the 4th book, so that's pretty good. Like, I'm gonna pat myself on the back for that. It was definitely helpful for getting into the new year, into 2018, and then getting excited about reading for this month, because like honestly I doubled my list for what I wanted to read for February. I went from 4 to 8 for what I wanted to read, so yeah, you could say it was definitely like fueling in a way. So the first book that I did read this month was Misson Poet, and that was Beasts of the Extraordinary Circumstance by Ruth Emmie. I enjoyed this book, as you can tell by some of these post-its. This is the book I want to film a review for later this week because I did enjoy it. I was a little bit surprised, didn't quite meet my expectations for this book. It turns out that this book is actually just like a love story, which is lovely, and I love that. I love a good love story, but it wasn't as mystical and magical as this the synopsis had portrayed this book to be, so that was just a surprise, you know? If you are interested in a good love story, a good coming-of-age tale, this is your book for that. Not too much else to say about that for now, but yeah, this was my first book of January, and I wouldn't go back and read a different book. I would definitely have stuck with this one for my first book of January. I'm happy with it, is what I mean. The second book I read was The Vacationers. Oh, what I meant to say for this book, I ended up just giving it a 4 out of 5 on my Goodreads review. A 4 out of 5, that's not bad, that's good. That's a really good book. My next book though was The Vacationers by Straub. This book takes place in Mallorca. It's about a family and all of their family friends coming together and to share this one vacation spot for a couple weeks. This felt like an indie film, like a John Cassavetes, where let's bring in all of these people who have annoyances with each other and just get them all in one space in a heated room, in a heated situation, a heated setting, literally, and see what happens. So of course there are fights, there's so many conflicts, so many things come out of this. It's just like a family situational thing. It's not a comedy, although I think she meant it to be a comedy in some ways. But I gave it a 3 out of 5 on my Goodreads, which means it was okay. It was good enough for me to make it through the book. I wasn't like, I have to put this down, this is too much. That was my experience with The Vacationers, at least. And I think other people had similar experiences with it based on the average Goodreads score was 3.14 out of 5, so I think mine is about on par with other people's experiences with this book. My last read for this month was Yes Please by Amy Poehler. So I did not actually like read the physical book itself, which I really loved my first time around, but this was the book I gave my first audiobook experience on, or like my first time in a really long time to just try audiobook again. And because Amy Poehler has such a distinct voice, she read her own book. Also, the other people who wrote different chapters in this book also read their parts on the audiobook, like Seth Meyers, Mike Schur, who is the creator and executive producer of Parks and Recreation. She also has Kathleen Turner and Carol Burnett, as well as her parents on there. And she also read one of the chapters at the UCB Theater in LA, and it was just such an amazing experience. It just sounded so conversational. So for those of you who aren't super sold on audiobooks, I think the celebrity memoir is like the nice entry point in. At least it was for me, because they just add so many other oral experiences that are different from someone just reading kind of dryly from a book. At least that's always been how I felt, and maybe I just didn't choose the right read for that. Sometime in the future though, I do want to reread the physical book itself. I wrote a bunch of little annotations in here, and so it would be really cool to see what 23-year-old me wrote at that time period. What were some things I was loving about this book then that really spoke to me? Yeah, I wrote a lot in here too. Let's see if I have good analogies was when I wrote. So yeah, I was thinking critically about this book. Yes, of course, I always love Amy Poehler, and I would always give this a 5 out of 5 stars, even though this is already a reread. So yeah, those were my 3 of the 4 books that I finished for the month of January. The 4th one I've just cracked open, like I mentioned earlier, off the dust jacket, Swing Time by Zadie Smith, and I maybe got like 10-ish pages in before I was like, oh, let me get into my February TBR. I know it's too early to tell in a book. Everyone has like different times of when they're like, oh, I'm gonna sit this one out for a while and come back to it later. Pretty early in this book for me, but I'm hoping to try it again after the frenzy of this month, maybe in March or sometime in the near future. I do really want to get to this book. You can tell how committed I am though, because I did take off the dust jacket and it remains off until I read it. Those are all 4 of the books I've read, or oops, that is a lie, Tara. Those are the 3 of the 4 books I read in January. I hope you all enjoyed your January reading, even if you didn't meet your goal like me, and that's totally fine. I'm here to also say that's okay. I'm not feeling down on myself about not making it. Look forward to talking to you soon. Bye!